Welcome to the Jampack Report today for June the 4th of 2023. My name is Samuel Adams, and on today's show we are talking about the rocky development of Redfall as reported on by Bloomberg earlier last week. Lots to dig into there, but it just confirms what we all knew all along. Something was going wrong with this game from the beginning. On top of that, we're talking about the Summer Game Fest schedule. New Ubisoft Forward event details have been shared, and of course we've got some games with gold and new Game Pass editions to dive into as well, along with a couple of other stories along the way. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. Summer is officially here, which means a Summer Game Fest showcase is on the way. On top of that, many other events are going to be sprinkled throughout, and all of the action starts this Thursday, June the 8th. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we really kicked off the summer announcement season with the PlayStation Showcase, and we talked about that on a previous episode of the show if you do want to go back and see what you missed from there. But as far as this week goes, we have a jam-packed roster of events. Pun intended, because you're watching the Jampack Report. Hashtag sponsored. Just kidding, I am not. I wish I got that money. But on Thursday, June the 8th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, Jeff Keighley hosts a live cross-industry showcase. This is the big kahuna. This is the one that you really need to tune in to watch, because this is where the majority of the big announcements under Keighley's show are going to be held. Of course, we've got other events we'll talk about here in a moment, but this is the one that really starts it all off. I'm going to be seeing a lot of third-party stuff, probably, a lot of Keighley's partners, just a general mix of games across the board. Also on June the 8th, we have the Day of the Devs and the return of Volvi and the Devolver Digital Showcase, which both happen at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on June the 8th and 6 p.m. Eastern Time on June the 8th, respectively. Then on June the 9th, we have the Tribeca Games Spotlight. June the 10th, we have the Wholesome Direct. Had to see what that font said real quick, but these are the fun little warm, heartwarming indie games that kind of make their way to Game Pass occasionally that definitely many people out there do enjoy. And they say indie games that demonstrate the incredible range of themes, styles, and perspective that games have to offer. On June the 10th, we also have Asmongold hosting the OTK Games Expo. That's happening on June the 10th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we get to the Xbox Game Showcase and the Starfield Direct that's happening on June the 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, followed directly by the Starfield Direct. And also on June the 11th, we have the PC Gaming Show. This is where you'll see, typically I associate this with a lot of Warhammer for some reason. This is where we see a lot of that kind of stuff come from. I think Remnant from the Ashes might have also made an appearance there. So those kind of games that are more PC leaning tend to show up at the PC Gamer Presents PC Gaming Show. And that happens at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on June the 11th with 2 hours of reveals, including more than 15 new game announcements. So these are your events for this week in particular. On top of this, one that is not mentioned here that I think we absolutely should mention is the Ubisoft Forward. This has been officially announced, this is confirmed, and it's happening on June the 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. CEST for the latest Ubisoft Forward livestream event. So this is going to feature a look at Assassin's Creed Mirage, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, the Crew Motorfest, and more. By the way, just to mention, the Crew Motorfest, this is a game that I don't see a lot of people talking about. Probably because they aren't marketing it well, and of course, this is probably when the marketing cycle is actually going to kick off. But the Crew Motorfest is effectively Forza Horizon, but the Crew. I don't know if it's going to be something that sets the world on fire necessarily, but it could be really neat. It's like a cross-country road adventure that brings in elements of that open world Forza Horizon gameplay. I was really impressed with what we saw from this. So if you're a racing fan, keep your eye on that one. Don't write that one off just because it's the Crew and it's just another racing game. I think that one could actually be very, very interesting. But Ubisoft has a lot of good stuff in the hopper. Assassin's Creed Mirage looks fantastic. I don't really care about Avatar, but depending on how the game shakes out, that could be interesting as well to watch. But official event details are We are kicking things off with the pre-show beginning at 9:45 a.m. PDT with the main event kicking off at 10 a.m. PDT, and we're not stopping there. Stick around after the show for even more surprises. Viewers watching on Twitch will also be eligible to earn Twitch drop rewards for multiple games by watching the official channel or a number of co-streaming partners, and you can get goodies in Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, Riders Republic, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and Assassin's Creed Mirage. And of course, you can register for updates or drop the follows over on these social channels as well. So once again, tons of big events, tons of big news to dig into later on this week. Inevitably, we are going to be getting some surprise announcements that are going to steal the show probably, but lots of exciting times coming through this week. And I have the opportunity to go watch the Xbox Game Showcase on the big screen at a theater near me. And I had to jump on this opportunity because how often are you going to be able to see world premieres, long Starfield gameplay, deep dives into mechanics of that game on a screen the size of the one in the movie theater with the surround sound audio that comes with the movie theater experience? That's too good to pass up. So I locked in those tickets. Of course, they are giving them away for free. And on top of that, you do get a free $10 snack voucher. You can head over to aka.ms/XboxFanFest if you do want to see if you can still sign up. But I'm excited about this show in particular. Of course, you guys know I'm an Xbox guy. We've got the hat on. We're ready to rock. And I'm looking forward to seeing some Fable, like I think I mentioned. I'm looking forward to potentially seeing some surprises, some Game Pass drops on day one. That kind of stuff gets me hyped as well. But typically in the past, I've done the predictions shows, what I want to see, the hopes and dreams. Ultimately, I want this to be a year that Xbox showcases some really awesome games. And I know that's simple. I know that's cliche. Just give me a look at Avowed. Give me more of what we've seen over the past couple of years to where we can really put some concrete hopes and dreams out into the atmosphere to say, that game looks cool. What does Perfect Dark look like? You know, things like that that we know are out there pending. I'm looking forward to seeing Xbox take what they have put out there and run with it. And of course, on top of that, I'm looking forward to diving into a box of those cookie dough bites with that $10 snack voucher at the movie theater. So excited about all of this. Big week ahead. And of course, you can follow along with me on Twitter. You can follow along with me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that stuff. I'll be talking about stuff throughout the week. And this is really Gamer Christmas. This is the week that everything goes down. So between the Ubisoft Direct, Summer Game Fest, and of course the Xbox Game Showcase and the Starfield Direct, we have a lot of content coming our way this week. Now, as far as next week's show goes, of course, my show typically goes out on Sundays at 10 a.m. We are going to be bumping that to potentially Sunday night, maybe even Monday, depending on how timing and stuff works out, because I do want to talk about everything that goes down this week that is of interest to you all, or at least what I think would be the highlights of these shows. So that's going to take some time to put together, and of course the Xbox Game Showcase doesn't happen until Sunday, June the 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, so we are not going to be putting out a show that morning. I think that would be a little bit pointless, so we are going to be holding off on that one a tad as well. So that's what's happening. Get hyped, get ready. We've got a lot of good content coming our way. Next up, we head over to IGN, where they write, Redfall's development was reportedly so troubled that devs hoped Microsoft would cancel it. And this article is talking about a Bloomberg report that came out from Jason Schreier last week that really digs into what happened behind the scenes, or at least the high-level look at what happened behind the scenes that led to this disastrous launch for Xbox. So digging into Ryan Dinsdale's report on Bloomberg, Arcane Studios' development of Redfall was reportedly so troubled that its developers hoped Microsoft would cancel the game after acquiring the company in 2020. Bloomberg released a report having spoken to several anonymous sources familiar with Redfall's development after it launched last month to poor reviews and significant technical issues. These sources claimed Redfall struggled with a misguided vision, staffing issues, and more. Things allegedly became so bad at Arcane that, despite having put 2 years into Redfall at the time of the Xbox acquisition, staff wished it would be rebooted as a single-player game or canceled altogether. The switch to a multiplayer focus, which was reportedly pushed for by parent company ZeniMax, appeared to be a major cause of Redfall's issues. Developers who worked on the single-player Prey, which is a format Arcane is known for thanks to hits like Dishonored, were now working on a multiplayer game, and Bloomberg reported that 70% of these staff members left by the end of Redfall's development. I want to reiterate that. 70% of people that had worked on games like Prey or Dishonored, that are arguably Arcane's bread and butter, that is what they are known for, have left by the end of Redfall's development. That is bad, not only for what the company is presenting, but for the future of the company if that single-player approach is what they want to return to. after the failure of Redfall. They go on. Replacing them was also claimed to be an issue for the same reasons. Applicants looking to replace these roles were developers passionate about single player and not the multiplayer experts that Arcane needed. This led to what's claimed to be a perpetually understaffed team of less than 100 employees. The project also reportedly lacked direction as a result, with developers stuck between making a single-player game and a multiplayer game. The sources claimed that management would also regularly switch reference points, saying Redfall should be like Far Cry one day and Borderlands the next, leaving designers with no clear idea of what game they were making. Microsoft declined to comment on the report when they reached out, when they were reached out to by IGN. They go on to talk more about Phil Spencer's appearance on the Kinda Funny Xcast, how they took full responsibility for what happened with Redfall, and that interview on the Kinda Funny Xcast is incredibly interesting because Phil Spencer said that their internal review tests were off by double digits. They thought this thing was going to be double digits higher than it was, which probably would have pinned it somewhere around a high 70 or in the 80s, which still isn't what you should really be shooting for when it comes to big AAA Xbox exclusives. But the issue that I think a lot of people are calling out is that ZeniMax and the teams below that umbrella aren't really integrated into the Xbox Game Studios family in the way that they should right now. And that's a long process. That's a lot of employees being brought over. But I mean, we've heard that there are two different HR structures within the company. It is effectively two companies that just connect via Xbox. There really isn't that synergy that we get from the studios that Matt Booty is over. And so if that is the case, and it seems to be the case, we've got to get to a point where an Xbox exclusive game like Redfall that is coming from the ZeniMax side of the house is treated with the same level of care that a regular Xbox game would be that's coming from the Xbox Game Studios team, because ultimately public perception is everything, and Redfall is a horrible representation of what Xbox can bring. They have got to do better than that. And so I'm sure that they're revisiting these approaches. I'm sure they're talking about how they can make sure this doesn't happen again. But the other side of this is that studios have to have identities, but they also have to balance that with testing and iterating and finding new identities whenever they want to branch out of whatever they are and to become something new. And so with Arcane, they know what they are good at. I mean, you've got, again, Prey, Dishonored. These are big hits. But when it comes to a game like Redfall, there are elements that worked in those former games, in Prey and in Dishonored. You can see some of that DNA in Redfall. But to push for a Borderlands-like game, to push for a multiplayer focus, you've got to have team buy-in, which it seems there was clearly a lack of that with so many people leaving. On top of that, you've got to make sure that you have a direction that you know you can succeed with. You've got to have calculated risks, and that goes for anything in life. You've got to make sure that whatever you are moving towards is achievable. And it seems like they had an idea of what they wanted this game to be, but no clear route to get there. And you can't change direction. You've got to give these designers something that they can get behind. And it seems like none of that was really done very well. So Redfall is what it is. I know that one of the sentiments I've seen on my timeline throughout the week is let it go. It happened. It's out there in the wild. Take the hit and keep on licking. Take a lick and keep on ticking. Whatever the Southern saying is, you got to move on from it. And I'm kind of on that same boat as well, but you can't move on without taking some important lessons from the failures that you get through the journey you're on here. And I think that taking time to look back at what happened with Redfall is something that ZeniMax and Xbox need to do in a very big way. They have got to have a post-mortem on this thing to understand where things went wrong, and I think that articles like this are a good way to do that as well, digging into it, hearing anonymously from people behind the scenes that may be afraid to speak up in meetings. It's important to understand where the failures were to ensure they don't happen in the future. So that's what I hope comes from this, because Redfall is a big blow for not only the team at Arcane and the teams at Xbox, but for the Xbox brand. And they can't have that happening more than once, maybe twice. I mean, we got things like Crackdown that came out. Halo launched in a good way and then has had tons of issues along the way. We've got to get more games like Gears 5. We've got to get more games like Forza Horizon 5. We've got to get these games that nail it, because issues like this are what are holding Xbox back. And we've got to figure out how to make sure these don't happen. Next up on the roster, we've got Eurogamer, where they write Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is coming to PC in July. Also, they want you to know more than anything, Company of Heroes 3 Console Edition is out now. We've got a background overlay, we've got a banner ad, a side banner ad, hey, throwing that thing all around. But Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is coming to PC in July. Victoria Kennedy has the report where she says this PC version of Ratchet & Clank's latest outing will feature ray trace reflections with a variety of quality levels to choose from and newly added ray trace shadows for natural light in outdoor areas. Additionally, it will provide support for 21:9, 32:9, and up to 48:9 resolutions for triple monitor setups. Meanwhile, both gameplay and cutscenes are optimized for ultra-wide screens. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart will be released on the 26th of July for PC, with pre-orders available now. If you choose to pre-order, you get early access to the in-game Pixelizer weapon and the Carbonox armor set. So as always, great to see more PlayStation games come to PC. I think this is definitely going to be more of something that Sony bakes into their strategy. They have said as much, but this is a PlayStation 5 showcase. It brings the power of that SSD. Loading screens are completely non-existent, but as you can see, some of the features are unlocked frame rate. You've got it accessing DLSS 3 for higher resolutions, higher frame rates, all of that good stuff. This is going to be the ultimate edition of this game. It's going to be interesting to see how this one runs, because we saw The Last of Us port pretty much just wrecked when it first came out. It was not a good port whatsoever, but the company doing this port to PC is the same company that brought Spider-Man to PC. So Insomniac is partnering with them once again, and the Spider-Man port ran very well. Of course, no launch is without issues, but runs very well altogether. So to see this one come to PC is a big win. A lot of people have been asking, why didn't they show this during the PlayStation Game Showcase a couple of weeks ago? Great question. Seems like something they probably should have thrown in there. But at the same time, I think the PlayStation strategy is still focused fully on showcasing the value of the PlayStation 5 and not necessarily of the PlayStation games. I think that's something that they are still trying to really drive home, is that if you want the best experience soonest, you should get the PlayStation 5. And so now this is coming to PC a few years after it came out. The more people that can get their hands on it, the better once again. So if you do want to dive in, again, the game comes out on the 26th of July. Exciting stuff there. We got some new additions coming soon to Game Pass, and we'll go through each of these, but the immediate reaction here from myself and from the community was, these are okay. I mean, Hypnospace Outlaw is making a return. It's coming back to Game Pass for a second time. We see Stacking, which I think was given away as a Games with Gold game, or it was included with Game Pass earlier. I remember seeing that one. I know that one's in my library. Amnesia the Bunker is a good get, but then we have some smaller indies like The Big Con, Dordogny. I don't know what that game is, but overall, we're getting to a point with Game Pass right now where stuff like Car Mechanic Simulator 2021, do we really want that in the service? Like, we've got to be careful about what games we bring in. That was my initial reaction. And then I remembered we're a week before the Xbox Game Showcase, and they inevitably are going to drop some games on Game Pass same day as the show. So there is more to come in the month of June. Fear not. This is not going to be your first lineup. This is just 8 games they're throwing out there on top of whatever comes at the Xbox Game Showcase. So that makes me feel a little bit better, but I am going to keep an eye on Game Pass, because we're getting to the point where we've just got to keep an eye on things. So anyways, coming soon to Xbox Game Pass, Amnesia the Bunker, Car Mechanic Simulator 2021, Dordogny, and more. Available today, Chicory: A Colorful Tale is on Cloud Console and PC, and Far World Pioneers. I have this one downloaded, have not played it, but this is available on day one via Xbox Game Pass, where you craft, build, mine, and farm peacefully together, or strap an electric death rifle to your back and take on the galaxy. Cool looking game on that one. Coming soon on June the 1st, which I suppose is actually out now, Car Mechanic Simulator 2021 is on Cloud Console and PC. Slayer's X Terminal Aftermath: Vengeance of the Slayer is a Doom-style old-school boomer shooter on Cloud Console and PC. The Big Con is also on Cloud Console and PC. And then on June the 6th, we get Amnesia the Bunker on Cloud Console and PC, alongside Hypnospace Outlaw, which is making a comeback once again on Game Pass on Cloud Console and PC. Then on June the 8th, we get Rune Factory 4 Special and Stacking. And then on the 13th of June, we get Dordogny. I hate it. Why Why did you name it that? But this is available day one on Game Pass, where you can immerse yourself in a unique narrative experience and explore the 1,000 summer colors of Dord Ogni. Sure, why not? And then, of course, in case you missed it, they've got a recap of games that have come out. Superland 6 Inches Under is on cloud, console, and PC. This was a surprise drop, so it's good to see them spotlighting that one once again. And then they have some DLC and game updates. Battlefield 2042 Season 5 is coming on June the 7th. Good looking stuff there. Battlefield 2042 is whipping out some solid content to kick off Season 5, and there is more Battlefield 2042 on the way. If you haven't, that game is on Game Pass, and it is a solid first-person shooter. I've put a lot of time into it. Leaving on June the 15th, we have Bridge Constructor Portal, Chorus, Maneater, Mortal Shell, Serious Sam 4, and Total War 3 Kingdoms. Out of these, you need to play Serious Sam 4, solid time. I reviewed that one back in the day when that came out. Chorus is also good, reviewed that as well. And then Bridge Constructor Portal is a fun game. I think that came out on Switch first. Could be wrong about that one, but that is also fun stuff that bakes in some Portal action as well. And of course, if you do want to keep any of those after they leave Game Pass, you can get them for 20% off. So a pretty good deal there. If this wasn't enough Xbox game news for you, we've also got games with gold for June 2023 that include Adios and The Veil. Specifically, The Veil Shadow of the Crown. Dan Hickey, the marketing program manager at Xbox, writes, explore the worlds of two unique narrative-driven games this June with games with gold. On Xbox One and Series X and S, sticking to one critical moral decision is harder than you think, and the poignant adios. And then starting on June the 16th, listen closely as you try the outside-of-the-box audio-driven adventure, The Veil Shadow of the Crown. Of course, Adios has a $17.99 ERP available June 1st to the 30th, and The Veil Shadow of the Crown available the 16th to July the 15th. I keep going back and forth on games with gold. I made a video a few weeks back talking about how games with gold is diminishing the value of the Xbox brand because this graphic comes out on social media, and then you put that alongside what PlayStation Plus gets, which are still somewhat compared in the public eye. And typically it's pretty pathetic. These games I have never heard of. Will I ever play them? Potentially. I will add both of these to my library for sure. But at the same time, somebody called me out in the comments and said, it's a value add. It's something you get for free. So why not just take it and run with it? I get that as well. So I might check these out at some point. I just wish Games with Gold was better because now we've got $37.98 in value and 2,000 in gamer score to earn. I mean, it's $37.98 in games I wouldn't have had before, so I guess I can't really complain that much. I still just feel like this makes the Xbox brand look bad to throw that out on social media. I'm going to get off my soapbox once again. The Veil sounds really interesting. I want to check that one out. Adios is really interesting as well. I'm curious why it's rated M. So could be diving into that one. We'll see what happens. But if you want Game Pass games, we've got that. If you want games with gold games, we have that as well. But to round out today's show, I wanted to dive into this quick Twitter thread from EA Star Wars talking about some big stats that came from the first couple of weeks of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. They write, exploring the galaxy with Callum Beatty has never been more exciting. Check out what players have been up to in these Star Wars Jedi Survivor stats. 29% of players have used the dual-wield stance, 25% of players use the double-bladed, the blaster stance gets 8% of players, and the crossguard stance gets 7% of players, but the single saber stance is the most popular with 31% of players using that one. For the record, crossguard is the best. I am in that 7%. The most popular hair and beard combo is the crew cut and the short beard. You can see that pictured there. They go on. No one stands in the way of Rick the door technician, who has killed 489 people. This is a hilarious part of the game. I'm not going to spoil it. You should check that out. Good little thing they've thrown in there. The most popular lightsaber color is white. For the record, I rock with purple. The percentage breakdown of players' game difficulty, 14.5% of people play on story mode. The most popular, though, is Jedi Knight, the regular normal mode, at 52.5%. And there have been 9,019,384 players killed by Rancer. That is one of the bosses in the game. It is tough, not gonna lie. Enemies defeated, we have 2,855,586,942 enemies have been slain, 861,000 people have unclogged Reese's toilet, 11.5% of players have discovered Cal's poncho, and they go on with even more, saying over 3 million bounties have been collected, over 15 million seeds planted in the garden, over 8 million rounds of Holotactics won, and 100% of players love Turgle. Can confirm, do love Turgle. I love stats in games. I love it whenever they pull these numbers together and show as a community what we're doing in the game. And if you haven't played Star Wars Jedi Survivor, phenomenal game. I bought it on day one, wrapped up the main story a couple of weeks ago. I'll probably go back later in the summer and wrap up some of those side missions as well. But really good time. Love seeing these stats. And once again, great 2023 video game. 100% awesome. But that rounds out this week's episode of the Jampack Report. If you're new here and you enjoyed the show, be sure to hit that subscribe button over on YouTube or add the show to your podcast feed of choice and get it delivered right to you every single Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Except for next week, where I'll be watching the Xbox Game Showcase from a theater and doing a recap after. Exciting times, just keep that in mind. So have a great week, enjoy Summer Game Fest. I hope you guys find some games you enjoy, and along the way, keep playing games you enjoy, because that's what this is all about anyway. But I'll catch you on the next one. Until then, have a great one, and keep on playing.